How does the Republican Party do so good?
This is nuts, as all the pundits are racking their brains to explain how Trump won the presidency this year. Here's a video of Bernie Sanders 21 years ago explaining how the Republicans win, even though no one likes their actual policies.
And now I'm going to tell you something that very few people in Congress would tell you. If you are the Republican leadership, and this is what your goals are to give huge tax breaks to the very richest people in this country. Your goals are ultimately to privatize Social Security so that Wall Street can make money from that. Privatize Medicare so the insurance companies can make more money. Privatize education. Do away with public schools. If those are your goals and you said that to the American people, you think you get a lot of... There are many members of the Congress today, Republicans, who not only will not raise the minimum wage, which is $5.15 an hour, you know what they will tell you, honestly? They believe in abolishing the minimum wage. Did you know that? Check it out. Telling you the truth. So that if Americans can work for $3 an hour or $2 an hour, not a problem. Now, if you had an agenda like that and you went before the American people, tax breaks for the rich, destruction of Medicare, destruction of Social Security as we know it, lowering the minimum wage or abolishing it, how many votes do you think you'd get? Not a whole lot. Maybe the richest 1% would vote for you. But that's not a lot of votes. So what do? I've got a problem. You package it. How do you package it? And here I want you to pay attention to me. Because this is bad stuff. What you do is divide people up. Divide people up by races. Affirmative action becomes one issue. All them black people are getting the jobs that we white people used to have. Split people, working class, white against black. Instead of working together to create decent jobs for all. Those uppity women now, they want the right to choose. We'll split people on the abortion issue. We'll split people up on the gun issue. We'll split people up on religious issues. You follow what I'm saying? So you split people up, and then they end up, if you're a middle-class person, voting against your own interests, and the rich go laughing all the way to the bank.
And that happened this cycle. There are a bunch of middle-class Americans who voted for a billionaire funded by a soon-to-be trillionaire. The last time that billionaire was president, all he ever did was give tax cuts to the rich. There are millions of working-class Americans who voted for Donald J. Trump. That's like having millions of Roadrunner Americans voting for Wile E. Coyote. But back then, even Bernie knew how to win elections like this against opponents who only seek to divide, conquer, and then give themselves huge tax breaks.
And we try to bring people together to say, look, we're all in this boat together, whether you're black or white, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Muslim, whatever you may be. Everybody needs health care. How do we create a health care system that works for all people? Not divide people up. Everybody knows that the kids, young people, do not make it into the middle class unless they have a decent college education. So how do we make college education accessible to all people? Not an expensive proposition, a tiny, tiny fraction of the president's tax breaks for the rich, if we put into financial aid, would make sure that every young person in this country could go to college without going deeply into debt. You know what? The vast majority of the people support us. But in order to do that, we got to bring everybody together.
He points out that people are basically starved for solutions that will help many, many Americans and will bring them together, rather than what Republicans do, which is divide them into little tiny manageable, conquerable pieces. But he actually goes a step further and talks about the role the media plays in actually today's landscape as much as it did back then.
And that's how they succeed. And they succeed with the help of the media. Because the media will not talk about how, in a sense, the common problems that Americans face and how we bring people together.
And that's true. So there's two media ecospheres. There's like mainstream media, which is out there just trying to not focus on any issues that might hurt all their sponsors. And there's all those extremely well-funded conservative influencers that run wild online and are propped up by Elon Musk, and millions of dollars of funding from very sketchy secret sources on the right. And here's another crazy old video of a very sane old man who was old back then. How old is Bernie Sanders? He talks about the precursor to the internet ecosystem, because before YouTube, there was conservative talk radio.
This is not an extreme right-wing country. Just is not. And I would ask people to think for a moment about the phenomenon of talk radio. In a nation which is divided pretty equally politically, people on the left, people on the right, let me just mention the folks who are on talk radio. Rush Limbaugh, G. Gordon Liddy, Oliver North, Sean Hannity, Armstrong Williams, Blakeet Colum, Michael Savage, Niels Bohr, Bob Grant, Bob Dornan, Michael Medved, Michael Reagan, Matt Drudge, Laura Schlesinger, Don Imus, Michael Graham, Ken Hamblin, Laura Ingraham, and many, many others. What do they have in common? They're all extreme right-wing. And now, let me read you the names of the progressive voices. That's it. There aren't any. There aren't any. Liberal voices, virtually none. Now, how come in a nation in which more people voted for Gore than for Bush, there are no national voices speaking for working families, speaking for the middle class?
Tell you, man, I know this so well. I went to the Republican National Convention, and as far as the eye could see, there were extremely well-funded right-wing media outlets, some starring the exact same talk radio show host that this guy named just a second ago. And all these outlets, man, all these outlets like the Daily Wire, Prager University, Turning Point USA, they get millions and millions of dollars poured on top of them in this sinister cabal of the right-wing talkosphere. And for years, dude, as we're trying to figure out how to grow our audience, I see giant view counts next to these guys. And next to those view counts, I see the word promoted, because they're buying views and had for many, many years. And what are they always saying? Listen, the white people are left behind because of the black people, and the brown people are taking everybody's jobs. And I'm definitely not going to let the Democrats off the hook. Bernie Sanders, TYT, Rebel HQ, everybody here talks about the corrupting influence of money on both sides of the aisle. That is undeniable. But there is somebody who can explain what happened and what needs to happen. And guess what? Big surprise, it's Bernie Sanders.
The working people of this country are extremely angry. They have a right to be angry. In the richest country in the history of the world, today, the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. So if you're an average worker out there, you're saying, hey, I'm working longer and longer hours, going nowhere in a hurry, worried about my kids, and yet the people on top have never had it so good. Where is the Democratic Party? Are they prepared to stand up to these powerful corporate interests, raise the minimum wage, fight for health care for all people? Make sure that all of our kids get the quality education that they need. Expand Social Security. Are they prepared to do those things? That's the issue that we have to address.
So there you have it. The gauntlet's been thrown down for the future of the Democratic Party. In the wake of this loss, they need to focus on issues that bring people together, as the Republicans have gotten very, very savvy at making that seem like Democrats are trying to tear people apart, even though Democrats basically just want to give people health care and a leg up. Meanwhile, Democratic leadership needs to keep its eyes on the prize, which is winning elections and serving the electorate, which will mean they need to say no to donors who want them to basically act like Republicans. This is a tall order at this time in American history, where since Citizens United, it's been super easy to just pour a ton of cash into elections and buy politicians. So in that scenario, the prize is definitely not just donor money. And also, wouldn't it be awesome if the people in charge of the Democratic Party understood the value of populist messaging on the left? Messaging like Bernie Sanders has out there, where the government should just help people and maybe invested in those voices and just let them do their damn thing. That'd be crazy. Then we could, have the resources to win frickin' elections, as opposed to spending $450,000 a day putting Kamala's face on the Sphere in Vegas. I don't know, that's a wish list. Thanks for watching. I'm Brett. Sorry I was gone for a while. We had a lot to do in the run-up to the election. I'm glad you enjoyed it.